All right, y'all. Today we're going to go really quickly through some basic rounding rules, how to round numbers correctly. We're going to talk more tomorrow about why rounding is important in physics and in any science class. But today we're just going to go over the specifics. Now, the first thing I want you to do is to open up your journal that you set up yesterday, and you're going to turn to page E, where you've titled it Rounding with today's date, 8/26/20. And this is where you're going to take your notes, page E with the title Rounding in your journal. The very first thing I would like everyone to do, whether you feel like you're pretty good at rounding or not, is to copy this diagram right here, place values, and then 1, 2, 3, 4.567, and label your place values underneath. The 1 is the thousands place, 2 is the hundreds, then the tens, the ones, the tenths is the first decimal place, hundredths is the second decimal place, and then thousandths is the third decimal place. That TH is how you can tell the difference between whether it's on the left of the decimal or on the right of the decimal. Your first rule in rounding is to find the place value that you're rounding to. So if I ask you to round to the tenths place, you're going to find whatever digit is in that tenths place in your number. You're going to look at the next digit to the right and ignore everything after that. If the next digit to a right is a 4 or lower, then your number is going to stay exactly the same. If the digit to the right is a 5 or higher, then you're going to round your number up. In our place values number, the tenths place, the very next digit to the right is a 6. So if we were to round this number to the tenths, it would be 1,234.6. We would round that up. Anything left of the decimal after where you've rounded should be filled in with zeros. Anything to the right of a decimal should be left off. So in this case, if we rounded our tenths place, 1,234.6, we would leave off these additional digits. Let's say that we were going to round to the tens place in this number, 1, 2, 3, that's the number we're looking at. The digit to the right is a 4, so we would leave the 3 as is. 1, 2, 3. We still have another place value before we get to the decimal, so we would fill that in with a 0. 1, 2, 3, 0, and leave off everything else. A couple of other examples. If you were to round the number 285 to the tens place, 8 is in your tens place. The next digit is a 5, so we round that 8 up and fill in a 0. So 285 rounded to the tens place rounds to 290. 2.85 to the tenths place, 8 still being in the tenths place, we would round that up to a 9 again, 2.9, but in this case would leave off any additional digits. You should be careful when you're rounding a 9 up, because remember the next number after 9 is 10. So when you round a 9 up, you're not only going to change the place that you're rounding, but also the digit to its left. So in our example, it says round 9.623 to the ones place. We also sometimes call that rounding to the nearest whole number. The first thing you do is to find the ones place. That's your 9. You look at the next digit to the right. That's your 6. That digit is a 5 or a higher. It's a 6. So we need to round up. The 9 needs to be rounded up. We're not going to just round it to a 0.
If you're in the building, please call 6.
6 is obviously higher than 5, so we're going to round our 9 up. Now 9 rounds up to 10, so 9.623, when you round it to the ones place, becomes a 10. And again, we leave off all of the digits after the decimal point because we're not rounding in the decimal places. The next thing that I'd like to do is to walk you through very quickly just a few practice problems. Your quiz will look very similar to this one. Round the following number to the nearest 0.1, meaning the tenths place. Your quiz will look very similar to this one. So when the page opens, click on Begin. It might take a minute to load. And you're just going to go through, it's going to have 10 questions. You'll go through them being very careful to make sure that you are rounding correctly. Round the following number to the nearest 0.001, the thousandth place. So we're looking just at that third decimal point. We're going to keep everything before that, 73.66, and we're just looking at, do we change the 7 to an 8 or do we keep it a 7? In this case, we make it an 8. And the next one, 144, excuse me, 0.954 rounded to the 10th place. This is one of those 9s. So we know that the 9 is going to get rounded up, which is going to change the next digit to the left as well. So 145.0. Make sure you put the 0 because that's the place you're rounding to. Next, rounding to the hundredths. Keep everything before that, 466.2, and we're going to round this 1 up to a 2 also, leave off everything after that. Nearest whole number is to the ones place, 3, 4, and this 6 is going to get rounded up to a 7. Rounding to the 0.1 to the 10th place, that first decimal, 619 point, and it rounds up to a 2. Round to the nearest whole number, 22, and this is a 3, so it's going to stay a 9. Leave off everything else. Round to the nearest whole number, 5, 8 is what we're looking at. The next digit is a 1, so it stays an 8. Round to the nearest 001, the thousandth place, 65.55, and it's going to stay a 2. Round to the nearest whole number, 3, 4, and this is going to round up to a 7. Next question, to the nearest 0.1, the 10th place, 517.3. And that's it. I'm going to submit my answers. And I got 10 out of 10 points. If you have any questions about any of those sample problems that I just went through, if you're not sure why I got the answer I did, please ask. If you're going through your own quiz and you get a result that you're not sure of or you don't understand, please ask about that as well. Good luck.